Atempo is a leading independent European-based software vendor with an established global presence, providing solutions to protect, store, move, and indeed recover all mission-critical data sets for thousands of companies around the world. Atempo offers a complete range of proven solutions for physical and virtual servers backup, workstations, and migration between different storages of very large data volumes. Well, joining me now is Atempo's CEO, Luc Derceau. He's going to tell us a little bit more about their work. And I guess that you've been very busy, Luc, because the pandemic, of course, has been disruptive. More people are working from home and indeed shopping online. So have you found that in this period, there's been a big increase in the number of cybersecurity breaches?
Hi. Well, since the beginning of the pandemic crisis, cybercrime has increased in intensity and impact. The number of disaster-stricken organizations continue to increase both in the public and private sectors. For sure, teleworking opens up many security breaches that cyber criminals have been exploiting. To stay active and given the emergency, teleworkers have massively used poorly protected equipment, not to mention family PCs. Several thousands COVID news sites, websites have been developed for the sole purpose of spreading phishing or ransomware campaigns over. By consulting them, many active people have infected their own PC without their knowledge. By logging to their organizations, then they've, should it be through VPNs or through the public networks, they've imported those malwares within the organization. Public services such as healthcare establishments or administrations also came under enormous pressure during this crisis, forced to maintain their activity to manage the crisis. So what we can state is that the level of IT security is now no longer in line with the level of sophistication of cyber threats. That's one of the conclusions of this crisis.
Right. So given that reality, how is Atempo helping companies to stay ahead of the cyber threat during a period of disruption, which is likely to continue well into 2021?
Well, the history has proven that the cyber criminal attacks always go with, are always flare up with crisis. So what we have anticipated is to make it possible for a large number of organizations to have a direct access and free access to a backup online solution. This backup online solution that we have developed with our partner OVH Cloud has been offered for free from March to September to make sure that the organization could recover from those attacks. In addition, as a backup specialist, we protect the workstations, but also the computer servers that more than 12,000 organizations throughout the world, any kind of sizes, any kind of organization sizes. So our solution have enabled also our attacked customer to restore their data and get back to business without delay.
Okay, let's dig into this a little bit deeper, because we know that backing up data is a pain point for many companies. And of course, it is vital to have a cybersecurity strategy. So is this something that Atempo can actually help them with?
I think everybody now realizes that backup is the ultimate defense against cybercrime. The level of sophistication of the attacks means that no organization can rely exclusively on preventive devices or solutions today. Everybody has to integrate the disaster recovery scenario. Helping businesses get back to business as quickly as possible without data loss has been the essence of our work for nearly 30 years now. Our portfolio of solutions include a backup solution for physical and virtual servers. Its name is Tina, and also another one for workstations called Lina.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about Tina and indeed another system, Miria, because you launched 2020 versions of both of these systems. So tell us about the products and more specifically, what is it that's new about these versions and how are they going to benefit the companies they're designed to assist?
Well, maybe we can start with Tina. the backup has become more and more difficult to handle because of the virtualization, because of a mix of on-premise and cloud servers, cloud-based servers and applications. So the first thing that we have done this year is completely redesign the UI to make the job easier. The backup easier to handle. So what we have done also is include a new feature to handle Office 365, Mail and OneDrive, and also direct backup to the cloud to accompany the organization to migrate to the cloud. This is the main steps that we have accomplished this year for Tina. Let me talk about Miria, because I already mentioned that we have packaged the solution with Lina to offer Lina on cloud-based solution. So Miria has been including Lustre to make it possible to have a fast scan and efficient HPC backup because of the large volumes of data. There's a tsunami of data in many sectors today, so we had to accompany. For instance, in the research laboratories, we had to accompany the tsunami of data. So we had to include, most of them are using Lustre, and we had to include Lustre in our Miria solution. We have also been integrating cloud and object storage sources, a powerful capability for widely demanded use cases. So we have several use cases that we can address now, migration from on-premise to the cloud, on-premise to cloud object storages as well, cloud object storages to another storage point as well. We have large capacities for archiving very large volumes of data, long conservation and preservation of data over the time. And of course, we have also integrated a new UI also on Miria to facilitate the data management for our customers.
So this is a pretty extensive package that you're offering here, isn't it?
It is. We have been along for quite a long time. We have been in this market for more than 30 years, so we know the story. So and backup, as I said, archiving, backup, and migrating has become more and more difficult and tricky. So our job is to make this backup and archive easier to handle for our customers, and also more cost effective, because with the number and the volume of data which is flaring, the cost of backup cannot flare in comparison with the volumes. So we have to lower the cost of backup.
And this is really important, because I love that expression which you used about being in the field for 30 years and understanding and knowing the story, because the common view is that SMEs are especially vulnerable to cyber threats. So what cybersecurity advice would you give to an SME, particularly those which perhaps are looking to scale up their operations, they're planning ahead, they need to expand, and they have to protect themselves?
Well, for SMEs, no doubt, the best investment is to work on the awareness and training of the employees. They are the weakest link, in the IT security chain. So, for instance, phishing campaigns or SEO fraud and a lot of ransomwares can be prevented with the first level of training. So that's the most efficient investment that you can use, is just awareness and training of your own colleagues. That would be my recommendation. However, the threat should not be underestimated, and cybersecurity budgets should also be significantly increased in all organizations. Cybercrime has become the world's number one problem today, and it costs between 0.5 and let's say 1.5 of the gross of the GDP in many countries. So it's the number one plague all over the world. So we absolutely need to increase the budget to fight against cybercrime.
Absolutely. And it's not just protecting yourself, but I guess it also spills over into business practices. And I'm thinking specifically about a scenario where a company perhaps needs to assess a third-party cyber defenses or vulnerability before signing contracts or doing business with them. So again, What advice do you feel Atempo could offer in this regard? Because so much can depend on it.
Well, auditing a third party, especially for SMEs, but auditing a third party cyber protection can be a long, expensive, and sometimes impossible process for the simple reason that the good scheme is inherently kept secret. So it's very difficult to audit something that is kept secret. So on the other hand, it is possible to request and require tangible proof of compliance with the regulations in forces and also the level of safety within those third party. For instance, labels, certifications are here for that. They are here to testify that the third party is matching the requirements, matching the level of security and quality that you're expecting. Finally, one should also be concerned about the level of third-party insurance coverage, because it's very important to make sure that those third-party are properly covered by their insurance.
And it's interesting, Luke, because we're not just seeing the spike up in cybercrimes that we referenced at the beginning of our conversations. I suppose it's also the boldness of some of these security breaches that no company, regardless of how big or small it is off limits to the ambition of hackers. And from your perspective, I'm just interested in finding out why you believe this keeps on happening, because there is a view that perhaps blue chip companies, they're the ones who should be driving cybersecurity priorities, because after all, they've got the money, and yet they're being broken into, and it's quite embarrassing, some of these assaults.
Sure. In recent years, digitalization has made organizations totally dependent on their IT, and with the advent of the cloud computing, they are now also totally dependent on the internet. So IT security guarantees the continuity of the activity. As such, it's a primary responsibility of the leader, of the manager, the general manager of the organizations. Unfortunately, many executives have usually a better understanding on cash flow strain, bankruptcy risk, supply disruption, or even machine tool failure, but they have very little awareness of what the cyber risk is. What makes the cyber criminal disaster very different from any other risk is its immediacy and relentlessness. So it's a top priority today, because the top management must realize that this kind of risk will continue will be there for long. So they must, according to me, they must learn to live with a very high level of permanent threat. So they have to integrate that in their environment. As a result, I would say that top management must care about cyber criminal as they care about their own competitors. They have to understand their motivations. They have to understand their strategies, their modus operandi, the way the tools they use. They have to be a high level of interest, higher than the competitors, the one they have for their own competitors, but they are much more dangerous than their own competitors. So they must also be advised by by experts, I would say, competent employees, equip themselves with solutions recognized on the market for their excellence, and also allow a substantial budget to protect themselves from those abuses.
And it's an interesting point that you raised, because sometimes you do feel that there is a bit of a disconnect between IT professionals on the one hand and boardroom and senior executives. And that's very, very worrying.
Yeah, there is a gap, because as I said, especially in high business school, most of the managers have been educated to take into account environment, especially environment risk, but those are focused on competition and some technological disruption. But they have not been educated on cybercrime and cybercriminality. So they have to understand that it's a much higher risk today, that technological disruption, that you can anticipate the technology. There are some weak signals along the years. Same thing for the competitors. You see, you lose one deal, then a second deal, then a third deal. There's not this immediateness like there is in the cybercrime. So cybercrime is an immediate risk that can ruin your business within seconds. So it's very important to integrate that to the management education. And I would see that we need to reinforce this training within the high business school as well. Should it be an engineers or business school, but that has to be part of the training cycle for those top managers.
Absolutely. So there's a gap in the executive education. At least you found a way of actually dealing with it. But look, I mean, when we're talking about the cyber threat, staying ahead of it, you can't rule out the importance of R&D, research and development. So let's look at the work that Atempo is taking in this field. I mean, give us an idea about the importance of R&D in terms of threat detection and making sure that you can actually keep abreast of those cyber threats.
Well, we fight against an enemy that we can never meet. So it's very difficult. So what we do is we gather information within members of several organizations. For instance, we are part of the cyber malveillance, we call it cybermalveillance.gov.fr. It's a French movement which is assisting any disaster organization to recover from a cybercrime. So we have a lot of information within these organizations. We are also part of another organization which is called Exatrust. It's a group of leading players in the cybersecurity. So again, within these organizations, we also exchange a lot of information that we have and the disaster we have noticed within our customer portfolio. And we have a third organization which is called European Champions Alliance, which gives us the opportunity to exchange with many European players which are leading technological cybercrime and cyber companies. Which are exchanging a lot of information on cybersecurity focus group.
I mean, how is it that you're able to work so successfully with these different technological partners? I mean, true, you're all pushing for the same objective, but sometimes the relationships of this nature can get fraught, and in one or two cases perhaps have been acrimonious further down the line, but you've managed to make it succeed.
Well, it is true that we have clinched a lot of deals with technological partners. The reason is that Atempo has got a unique expertise in migrating, backing up, and archiving very large volumes of data. And as I mentioned before, there's a flood of data today. So the Miria solution that I mentioned before is a business enabler for those technological partners because it makes it possible to secure the business they are doing when they sell equipment or new equipment, because the customers, when they buy a new equipment, they are concerned about the continuity of their activity and the migration of their data. So Miria helps vendors sell new products and secure the customers during the migrating process, and makes it possible for them to be very let's say cool when they buy a new equipment. They will have no trouble changing from one vendor to another vendor. So that's a very important point for our technological partners to use our solution to help them sell their own equipment.
It's interesting there that you're talking about partnerships, etc., and how you work and make these relationships with other players in the field. And this is quite important in the context of European digital sovereignty. And what I'd like to know is, what is Atempo's role in the EDS? Because it is massive, the objective, in terms of what it wants to bring to European businesses. And of course, in addressing this whole issue of cybersecurity and cyber independence.
Good question. During the last decade, the USA and China have won the first data battle with the B2C platforms in collecting huge amounts of personal data under conditions that are still being debated today. But since then, the laws have changed, and the recent cancellation of the Privacy Shield might well be a real game changer. The cancellation of the Privacy Shield is just the legal expression of this deep yearning of citizens and professional organizations for a cloud of trust. At Atempo, we are convinced that this need for a new digital deal, let me call it a new digital deal, a cloud of trust goes far beyond the borders of the European Union. Throughout history, Europe has demonstrated its ability to design the legal framework for the physical spaces, such as land, sea, and air, to guarantee the sovereignty of states. We believe that this vision will be instrumental in framing the digital space and provide citizens and organizations only the best, if possible, of the digital world. As a reminder, Europe ranks in second place, just after China in terms of data production. As the European leader of data protection and management, Atempo is convinced that we have an essential role to play in this digital New Deal. Moreover, 80% of the data is stored today in data centers and 20% on peripheral objects such as smartphones or communicating objects. This proportion will be reversed within the coming years, which opens a wide field of opportunities for new players.
Okay, so it's fair to say that you're going to be very busy in the next few years. I don't envy you, but good luck anyway. And Luc Dossel, thank you so much for telling us about Atempo, what it's doing now, and above all, how it's been punching very, very hard during the pandemic and all the disruption that has been following. But thank you so much and good luck going forward into 2021.
Thank you very much.